The Safe Route. Voices from the Border. A podcast of Safe Route Project.
On Saturday night, another tragedy in the Mediterranean. By dawn, this debris was all that was left of a migrant boat that broke up in rough seas just off the Calabrian coast. It's thought the vessel left Izmir in eastern Turkey 3 days prior, with as many as 150 crowded aboard, but only around 80 survivors washed up ashore near the town of Crotone. Rescue
It's
workers
February
struggled in the
26,
conditions to rescue bodies
2023.
from the waves.
A boat carrying around 200 people, mainly from Pakistan, Syria and Afghanistan, departed from Turkey and broke apart just meters from the shore of Steccato di Cutro, in the province of Crotone, south of Italy. The confirmed death toll from the shipwreck is 94, including many children. A foreseeable and avoidable massacre for failure to rescue. Human rights organizations had immediately denounced, claiming that the Italian authorities had been warned of the presence of the Caïque, but did not activate any rescue operation. On those days in Cutro, the many voices of outrage and condolences for the victims and the families who lost their loved ones added up, while the number of bodies increased by the hour. Tariq doesn't know exactly what drove him to travel to Crotone on February 27, the day of official mourning, after hearing the news on TV. Perhaps what made him want to be there at that moment was the image of Shahida Raza, a young Pakistani hockey champion, the same age as his daughter. Shahida had boarded the boat from Turkey with the aim of giving her son a new life. However, her hope dashed against the waves. Maybe what convinced him to go was the photo of all those young faces that looked so much like his own nearly 40 years ago, when he had said goodbye to his parents in a small village near Islamabad and set off for Europe. When he left without any real idea of what he would find, only the belief that the future had something better in store. He remembers that journey well. It was nothing like the overcrowded boats departing from distant shores at dawn. His journey began at the airport of the Pakistani capital city. A commercial flight with polite flight attendants who showed him to his seat and served him a meal. It had not been difficult. He had not planned it for long. He wasn't even sure he wanted to stay in Europe, but he knew that if things didn't work out, he could return home on the same flight, maybe try again the following year, maybe for another country. This is an all-or-nothing journey. For me, there is no plan B. Bilal, the 20-year-old son of Tariq's childhood best friend in Pakistan, had once told him. Tariq had seen Bilal only a couple of times, but in recent months, his calls had become more frequent. Bilal wants to join him in Milan, repeatedly saying that he would only need a little support at first and is confident he would manage on his own because he knows how to do a lot of jobs. Like his friends, who he hasn't heard from for a while, but is sure they're okay and have made it. From Tariq's journey to the one Bilal wants to undertake, not only decades, but many laws regulating immigration in Italy and Europe have passed. It means listening to his accuse of being privileged and not even being capable of understanding what a young Pakistani man faces today. For many, migration has become an illegal and perilous endeavor. The routes have grown longer, more expensive, and far more dangerous as numerous legal pathways have closed off. Many Pakistani like Bilal are starting their journeys only when they find a small crack in the dense web of controls, checkpoints, and pushbacks. A desperate path fraught with risks. There's no plan B, no turning back. Once you start, you can't fail. Bilal keeps saying. Nearly 10 years have passed since October 3, 2013, when a Libyan boat carrying migrants sank just a few miles from Lampedusa, killing 368 people. Since then, over 20,000 people have lost their lives on the central Mediterranean route. This was also recalled by the demonstrators when the government representatives' cars arrived at Cutro. Italy's Interior Minister Piantedosi stated that the solution to these deaths at sea would be to stop the departures, while Prime Minister Meloni emphasized the responsibility of the traffickers. Shortly after the tragedy, a new law was drafted and named after the site of the shipwreck, the Cutro Decree.
E lo abbiamo fatto per ribadire che noi siamo determinati a sconfiggere la tratta di esseri umani responsabile di questa tragedia. La nostra risposta a ciò che è accaduto è una politica di maggiore fermezza sul tema. Se qualcuno pensa che i fatti del 26 febbraio ci abbiano indotto a modificare la nostra linea in tema di immigrazione, sbaglia di grosso. Io credo che quello che è accaduto a Cutro sia la conferma, la dimostrazione che non c'è politica più responsabile di quella finalizzata a rompere la tratta degli scafisti.
In a broader debate on immigration in Italy, the Cutro Decree is just the latest piece of the puzzle. Over the past 30 years, we've seen a series of laws and measures that have progressively tightened the rules for those entering our country, fundamentally changing how migration flows are managed. From the 1990 Martelli Law, which first introduced an organized framework for immigration, to the 1998 Turco-Napolitano Law, the 2002 Bossi-Fini Law, and more recent security decrees, each law has sparked heated debates about human rights, social integration, and practical impacts on migration. It's been over a year and a half since that tragedy, but the pain has only deepened. Too many questions remain unanswered. Justice feels like a distant dream for the victims, and the families are left to grieve, their wounds open and raw. And in the time since, the tragedies have only multiplied. More lives lost at sea, more bodies found at the borders. The cycle of suffering continues, unbroken. For Tariq, it's a persistent confusion, a gnawing sense that he still doesn't understand. Why? Why do these tragedies keep happening? Why does it feel as though nothing ever changes? And so he makes a decision. He will embark on a journey, but this time in reverse. Nearly 40 years after that flight from Islamabad, he chooses to return to the lands he left behind. This time with an Italian passport in hand. Not to stay, but to understand. He wants to see for himself what has changed and hear the stories of those who, like him once, are seeking a new life in Europe. Because Bilal, with his own dreams at the time, seems to have no other way but illegality, and accepts the fact that death may be a possibility. His reverse journey will take him along the so-called Balkan route, one of the paths most frequented by his Pakistani fellows, from the eastern borders of Europe to Pakistan, crossing the junctions where the ambition of a worthy life clashes with the walls of a fortress. Now it is time to leave, with the first stop of what many consider their last, the border of Trieste, one of the gates of Europe, a land route made of woods, hidden paths, pain and hope.